Hello, you're watching World Talks on TVP World. My name is Sasha Farbach. Poland's largest opposition party has suffered its biggest internal rupture in more than 2 decades after Jarosław Kaczyński declared that more than 30 MPs aligned with former Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki had effectively left Law and Justice. Now, the split has exposed a struggle over the future of the Polish right, raising questions about leadership, ideology, and who stands to benefit ahead of the 2027 parliamentary election. Joining us now is Tomasz Kasprowicz, editor-in-chief of Res Publica Nowa, to discuss it further. Good to have you with us.
Good morning.
So looking at what's happened these last couple days, I mean, it's a massive rupture. At this point, is this now a final split, or do you see this as a feud that these two sides could come back together?
Well, apparently the final decision is going to be made on Tuesday, but it looks pretty definite at this point. This is very damaging for peace, so maybe there is a way to reconcile this problem, but it doesn't seem likely at this point. Since we see a quite well-known campaign of hate towards the former colleagues that was started by peace, it seems that those bridges are about to be burned for good.
Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it's interesting the manner of how this happened. Now, Mr. Kaczyński, for those just joining us, I mean, this is someone who led Law and Justice pretty much since its inception, very much the main person on this opposition right, very much the person in charge of things for his party. Why do you think this happened now? Why was this the moment that these ultimatums were delivered?
Well, this is the conclusion of a slightly longer process. First part of it is that the Law and Justice turned right because of the competing parties on the far right were taking away their voters. So peace decided that it's time to be a little bit more aggressive on this side, and this stretched the party a bit with the right the wing being pretty happy, but the moderate wing being less and less comfortable in this arrangement. Secondly, the main culprit that was designed and that was indicated by the party, the guilty of losing the elections was Mateusz Morawiecki. And for first year and a half, he was the main person that was indicated by the Kaczyński that he is the guilty one. Since Morawiecki has high hopes of being a leader of the right, or at least part of the right, this was undermining his position. Hence, he decided to create an organization that was trying to kind of show the opposite view on this issue and show that the law and justice government, of which he was a prime minister, actually had a lot of accomplishments. And those two things basically clashed over time. And Kaczyński seen this organization as a way to undermine his power and his ability to control the party. That's why he demanded that this organization be disbanded. Morawiecki refused, which is also understandable because dismantling this organization that he built for 1 year now would basically mean that he's returning as a very weak politician to law and justice, and the extreme right wing is gaining the momentum and is taking over the party. So he could not do that easily. So this led to a standoff, and a standoff that nobody blinked. Now we are at the point where basically one side says that they were kicked out of the party. The other part says that the Morawiecki decided to leave the party. This is because nobody in Polish politics likes people that are breaking up the organizations, the parties, and they have sympathy towards victims. So Morawiecki wants to insist that he was expelled from the party, while Kaczyński is trying to portray it as a decision of Morawiecki.
Mm-hmm. And it's interesting about that narrative, as you've said, one in terms of the victim, one's in terms of being expelled. We'll see which message kind of wins the day, but also about what Kaczyński has said, the head of the Law and Justice Party, like there cannot be in the party two political centers of power. Let's just hear what Mr. Morawiecki, the former prime minister, actually said of his New Development Plus program and why that's been brought into life. Let's just hear what he had to say.
This is precisely why the Development Plus program was created, not to divide the right wing. It was created to defend the achievements of upper governments, which were sometimes being undermined from within. It was created to develop a program to broaden support and to regain the trust of the people who have left us. We were united by the conviction that Poland has entered a time of particular trial. We cannot be a closed and insular party. Let us be a great camp for Polish affairs, a great camp that will unite the right wing, the center-right and the solidarity movement.
All right, so interesting message there about very much broadening that support, regaining the trust. When you hear those kind of words, what he's said there, how do you interpret this? How will this be interpreted also by the other MPs still in the Polish parliament? Do you think we'll have more people join him? What kind of message is he sending out right now?
First of all, as I mentioned, he said that this organization was created to defend his government from the voices from within. So basically the right side of the party that was basically saying that Law and Justice lost the elections because they were not right-wing enough, and that Morawiecki is to blame for everything that is bad in peace. And this way undermining him. So this organization was created then at the peak of blaming Morawiecki. The kind of ironic part is that this narrative of blaming Morawiecki ceased some time ago, about half a year ago. And since then, it seems that this organization was not needed that much, but this organization was already created, and Morawiecki could not disband it that easily. So it basically is a leftover from the time when Morawiecki was basically the main guilty one designed by the party. Mm-hmm. Of course, he is presenting this organization as a way of outreaching to new voters and opening the party to other groups of people. And this is partially true, that this organization was meeting with entrepreneurs and scientists and so on. But of course, the main reason is the internal struggle in law and justice for power, which is important from the point of view of taking over from Kaczyński, which is somewhat, of course, in the future. And we don't know how far in the future, because the discussion about who is going to take over from Kaczyński are raging for last 10 years, and Kaczyński doesn't seem to go anywhere. But still, that's the mindset of people in the right, saying that the better I have a position right now, the better there is a chance that I will actually be a leader of the right after Kaczyński is gone.
Yeah, there's still several layers to this. We have still Law and Justice. We have a candidate for them for Prime Minister, potentially. We have now also the far right. You mentioned the coalition. We have the current government. So I'm just wondering, if we put all that together, it's a lot. I just want to get your sense really briefly from what we've had these last couple of days. Who is the biggest winner here? Who is the biggest loser? And what's going to happen next with all this?
Well, the biggest loser is definitely Law and Justice. That's for sure. This will not help it to gain more voters. If Morawiecki starts his new party, which is quite likely, his electorate will be basically derived mostly from Law and Justice. So this is definitely the problem for Law and Justice. Of course, the current government can be much happier about it because even if the total support for the right doesn't change, the DONT method of counting votes in Poland favors the big ones. So taking some votes from the biggest one and creating a smaller party will actually translate into less seats in the parliament for the right. Of course, it seems that the another party that is a winner of this whole mess is the president, who is basically also pointing at his position as a leader of the right, even wider than just Law and Justice, but all of the right-wing parties in Poland. And this happening is weakening both Morawiecki and Kaczyński, which basically means that his claim to the throne on the right is basically getting stronger.
Mm-hmm. All right, still many issues. I mean, we still have much to analyze before those elections occur. One thing as well is security. I mean, that's going to be important for any government, any opposition. I want to just get your sense what we're hearing now of the tragic events in Berlin, just a neighbor next door to Poland. The apparent looks to be like an Islamist motivated ramming of a Christopher Street Day festival there. We have 1 casualty, 17 people also injured. What do you make of this? What does this tell us about where we are right now in terms of security situation, not just in Germany, but in Europe?
Well, of course, this is a problem. This is, again, something that far right will use quite efficiently for its propaganda. Unfortunately, there are people that are not of the right mind and are ready to do the terrorist attacks. And unfortunately, this sort of Islamic fundamentalism is currently the biggest source of terror attacks in Europe. Let's not forget that the terrorist attacks in Europe are in general very, very low right now. But still, we need to think about how to protect ourselves from this sort of things. And this is not an easy thing to do, because for this sort of attack, you just need a car and that's it. It's hard to imagine how you can protect effectively every gathering from this sort of attack. This is a very difficult situation for Europe. However, we should not forget the scale of this problem. This happens very rarely, and it happens sparsely. So we should protect ourselves, but we should not think this is the main security problem for Europe. That's not the case.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and at the same time, though, we'll have people worried. We have authorities in Berlin still looking for that apparent suspect. Now, look, we'll close it there. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate your insight as always. Tomasz Kasprowicz there from Res Publica Nowa.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for watching World Talks, but do stay right here on TVP World for more. Goodbye.